So, what does 153 pounds of roast beef, the art of yoga, and 18 inches have in common? Join us for the weird tale of Jimmy Slagle's 1970 escape from the prison known as the Alcatraz of East Tennessee. It was 1970 and Jim Slagle had been on the inside for 2 years. Furthermore, due to a litany of charges stemming from one drunken crime spree in 1968, combined with his previous record in Indiana, he would be housed at Brushy Mountain for the foreseeable future. In fact, his actual combined sentence from this escapade was 318 years. He was a perspicacious type, but as is the case for many of us, he was also plagued with a smart mouth, which earned him more than his fair share of time in the hole. It was after one such stint that a plan began to solidify in his mind. "How's that sentence going, Slagle?" the warden mocked soon after. Jim replied, "This is really getting to me. I guess the only way I'm going to get out is in a box." And indeed he would. He had pondered how much easier things would be if he could only cut himself in half, but he settled for the next best strategy he could think of: yoga. Over the course of almost a year, he dutifully studied the ancient art until he had mastered squeezing into a space of 18 inches by 18 inches, which was made a bit easier by his small and wiry frame. Though stranger sights had been seen, Jim was fond of showing inmates and guards alike the trick of slamming his shoulder against the wall to dislocate it and popping it magically back into place. Most thought he was merely becoming daft from boredom, but he had been showing off the skills that would gain him freedom. He worked diligently to build up his shoulder strength as well. Despite his periodic misbehavior, he served as the dining room's chief clerk, which allowed him access to the kitchen and its crews. Upon the occasion of leftover food, the prison would often box and ship the leftovers to a nearby facility. The kitchen trustees loaded Jim into a box, which was then labeled 153 pounds of roast beef. This box, containing 153 pounds of convict, was then loaded onto a flatbed truck and surrounded by other foodstuffs. People are mostly creatures of habit, and Jim had counted on the guard, as he had seen many other times, to just give the boxes a once-over before sending the truck on its way. The guard was true to form, and finally Jim was once again on the outside of the looming barbed wire fences and lording mountains that stood over Brushy Mountain's place in the valley. His plan hadn't ended at the gate, though, and he had bribed an inmate to adjust the mirrors of the truck when it was unattended. Using his shoulders, he burst out of the box and jumped to freedom off the truck and slunk his way into the nearby forest, unbeknownst to the driver. But the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry, as they say, and it just so happened that an off-duty guard was rabbit hunting with his dog in those very woods near the edge of the prison's property. He immediately found a phone and called the warden. "Did you give Slagle a walking pass, sir?" "Of course I didn't." "Well, he's out here in the woods walking around." Slagle had spotted the guard too and knew he hadn't much time. He scurried along a stream a ways and ran to a big tree, rubbing his uniform on it. Then he backtracked and jumped across the stream in an effort to throw the dog off his scent. But the longtime guard wasn't born yesterday and figured out his ruse. In no time, Jimmy Slagle was back home at Brushy and pulling another stent in the hole. Eventually, he got to see the outside with the justice system's blessing and was paroled in 2018 after having been incarcerated for 50 years. Until next time, Dortmund ghouls, stay smart.